The Indiana Fever just pulled off what nobody saw coming, and Caitlin Clark's reaction from the sidelines is sending shockwaves through the entire WNBA. When a 6 seed walks into Las Vegas and demolishes the two-time defending champions 89-73 on the very night A'ja Wilson gets crowned MVP, you know something extraordinary just happened. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you about this upset that has the entire league questioning everything they thought they knew about playoff basketball. Before we dive into the chaos that unfolded in Vegas, if you're Team Fever and ready to see them shock the world, smash that like button and let me know in the comments who you think was the real MVP of this game. Trust me, what Kelsey Mitchell did will blow your mind. Picture this scene in Las Vegas. Championship banners hanging from the rafters, a sold-out crowd ready to celebrate their queen, A'ja Wilson, receiving her 3rd MVP trophy, and the Indiana Fever walking in with 6 players injured, including their biggest stars. The ESPN panel literally laughed when discussing Indiana's chances. One analyst called it, quote, the most lopsided matchup in semifinal history, unquote. Vegas was favored by 14 points. The betting lines were so ridiculous that sportsbooks were offering odds on whether Indiana would even score 70 points. But that's when everything started to unravel for the Aces. What happened next would make you question if this was even real life. Kelsey Mitchell, who most casual fans probably couldn't pick out of a lineup, decided to have the greatest semifinal debut in WNBA history. We're talking 34 points on 52% shooting, 4 threes, and she didn't miss a single free throw. This wasn't just good, this was historically dominant. No player in WNBA history had ever scored that many points in their first semifinal appearance. Not Diana Taurasi, not Sue Bird, not even Cynthia Cooper. Mitchell broke a record that stood for over 2 decades, and she did it against the best defensive team in the league. But that wasn't the whole story that's got everyone talking. While Mitchell was torching the Aces on the court, Caitlin Clark was watching from the bench in those infamous black Air Force Ones that have become her playoff signature. Unable to play due to a nagging ankle injury she's been dealing with since late December 2024, Clark could only watch as her teammate went nuclear. But her reaction afterward is what really has people buzzing. She posted just 2 words on social media that have already gotten over 3 million likes. Kelsey unreal, simple, powerful, and it shows the respect between these 2 guards who many thought couldn't coexist on the same team. Here's where things get really interesting though. Sources close to the team are saying that in the locker room after the game, Clark gave an emotional speech to her teammates that left several players in tears. While the exact words haven't been leaked, multiple reports suggest she told them, quote, this is just the beginning of something special, unquote, and that she'd be ready to return for Game 2 if needed. The way she's been moving in practice videos that surfaced online yesterday, that ankle might be feeling better than the Fever are letting on. What makes this upset even more shocking is the context around it. The Aces hadn't lost a home playoff game in 2 years. They were 20-3 at home this season. They had just finished a ceremony honoring A'ja Wilson's MVP season where she averaged 27 points and 12 rebounds. The crowd was electric, the momentum was all Vegas, and then Indiana came out and punched them in the mouth from the opening tip. The Fever led by as many as 22 points in the 3rd quarter. 22 points against the defending champions in their own building. That's not supposed to happen. The coaching battle between Stephanie White and Becky Hammon turned into a masterclass from White. With only 9 available players and 5 of them who hadn't even been on the team 3 months ago, White somehow outcoached one of the best minds in basketball. Her defensive scheme completely neutralized Chelsea Gray, holding her to just 8 points on 3 of 11 shooting. Jackie Young, who averaged 19 points per game this season, managed only 12. The Aces looked confused, frustrated, and by the 4th quarter, completely defeated. But here's what really has the basketball world shook. This Indiana team shouldn't even be here. They started the season 11-15. They were in 10th place at the All-Star break. Sophie Cunningham, who's been their emotional leader all season, has been playing through a shoulder injury that would sideline most players. Aaliyah Boston is dealing with knee soreness that has limited her minutes. Nalissa Smith has been in and out of the lineup with back spasms. Yet somehow, this group of walking wounded just demolished the healthiest, deepest team in the league. The reaction from around the league has been absolutely wild. LeBron James tweeted fire emojis with Kelsey Mitchell's name, Stephen A. Smith, who literally said on First Take last week that Indiana had, quote, zero chance, unquote, had to eat his words on air this morning. Even Charles Barkley, who rarely watches WNBA games, went on Inside the NBA and said this was one of the gutsiest performances he's ever seen in any playoff game, men's or women's. What nobody's talking about enough is how this changes everything for the series moving forward. Vegas now has to win 4 of the next 6 games to advance. The psychological advantage has completely flipped. The Aces looked rattled in their post-game press conference. A'ja Wilson, who had 21 points but shot just 7 of 18, seemed genuinely shocked. When asked what went wrong, she could only shake her head and say, quote, "We got punched in the mouth and didn't respond," unquote. The betting lines have already shifted dramatically. Indiana went from plus 550 series underdogs to plus 220. That's the biggest line movement in WNBA playoff history after just one game. Professional gamblers are hammering the Fever to win the series, and several prominent betting syndicates have reportedly placed 6-figure wagers on Indiana to advance. But wait, it gets even crazier. Reports are now surfacing that Caitlin Clark has been secretly working with a specialized ankle specialist who helped Steph Curry recover from his chronic ankle issues. The same methods that kept Curry on the court during Golden State's championship runs are being used on Clark. If these reports are true, and she returns at even 80% for Game 2, this series might already be over. The schedule also favors Indiana in a way nobody expected. Game 2 is in 2 days, which gives Clark more time to heal. If the Fever can steal Game 2 in Vegas, they return home for Games 3 and 4 with all the momentum. The last team to come back from down 0-2 in a WNBA semifinal was the 2016 Sparks, and that took a historic performance from Candace Parker. Does A'ja Wilson have that in her? Maybe, but Father Time might have other plans considering she's played more minutes than any player in the league this season. Here's something else that's flying under the radar. Kelsey Mitchell's contract is up after this season. She's an unrestricted free agent who could sign anywhere. Multiple sources are saying that several teams are prepared to offer her a max contract based on this playoff run alone. The Liberty, Storm, and Mercury all have cap space and desperately need a scorer like Mitchell. But after a performance like this, would she really leave Indiana? The chemistry with Clark, the system that Stephanie White has implemented, and the chance to be part of something special might be too much to walk away from. The disrespect Indiana faced coming into this series has clearly motivated them. Las Vegas players were caught on camera laughing during Indiana's shoot-around yesterday. Chelsea Gray posted and then deleted a story that seemed to mock the Fever's injury report. That kind of bulletin board material is exactly what a young, hungry team needs to elevate their game. And boy, did they elevate it. Looking at the statistics more closely reveals just how dominant Indiana was. They shot 48% from the field compared to Vegas's 39%. They won the rebounding battle 41-36, despite being severely undersized. They had 23 assists to Vegas's 15. These aren't fluke numbers. This was systematic domination of a team that many consider a dynasty. The impact on the WNBA's narrative cannot be overstated. This league has been searching for its next great rivalry, and Fever versus Aces might be it. Young versus established, Midwest versus West Coast, Clark and Mitchell versus Wilson and Gray. The storylines write themselves. Television ratings for Game 1 were the highest for any WNBA playoff game not featuring the finals in the last 5 years. Over 1.2 million viewers tuned in, crushing the NFL preseason game in the same time slot. Social media exploded during and after the game. Kelsey Mitchell was trending #1 worldwide on Twitter for over 3 hours. The highlight of her step-back 3 over Jackie Young has been viewed over 15 million times across all platforms. Even Drake commented on the post with flame emojis. When Drake is paying attention to WNBA playoff basketball, you know something special is happening. But here's the real tea that nobody wants to spill. Sources inside the Aces organization are saying there's been tension building all season. The pressure of trying to three-peat, the weight of expectations, and some reported personality clashes have created cracks in their armor. When adversity hit last night, those cracks became canyons. You could see it in their body language. No communication on defense, frustrated gestures after missed shots, and zero energy from their bench. Meanwhile, Indiana's bench was going absolutely insane. Every Mitchell bucket brought them to their feet. Even injured players like Caitlin Clark were standing and cheering despite doctors' orders to stay seated. That kind of energy is infectious and impossible to manufacture. It's the difference between a team playing not to lose and a team playing to win. The historical significance of this moment shouldn't be lost either. The Indiana Fever haven't won a playoff series since 2015. They haven't been to the WNBA Finals since 2016. This franchise, despite having legends like Tamika Catchings in their history, has been largely irrelevant for the better part of a decade. One game doesn't erase all that suffering, but it's a damn good start. If you're still watching and you believe the Fever can pull off this upset, drop a fire emoji in the comments and subscribe because Game 2 is going to be absolutely insane. The chess match between these coaches, the adjustments Vegas will make, and the possibility of Clark returning makes this must-watch television. The pressure is now entirely on Las Vegas. They're expected to respond like champions, but what if they don't? What if Indiana has simply figured them out? What if Kelsey Mitchell really is unguardable in this matchup? What if the injuries and exhaustion from their deep playoff runs have finally caught up to the Aces? These are questions that seemed laughable 48 hours ago, but now feel very real. The winner of this series likely faces either New York or Connecticut in the finals. Both teams are watching closely, and you better believe they're taking notes. The blueprint for beating Vegas has been drawn. Attack Chelsea Gray early, make Aja Wilson work on defense, and don't let their role players get comfortable. Easier said than done, but Indiana just proved it's possible. 2025 is shaping up to be the most unpredictable WNBA season in history. Super teams are vulnerable, young stars are ascending, and parity might finally be arriving. The Fever's victory last night wasn't just an upset, it was a statement that the guard is changing. Whether they can sustain it remains to be seen, but for one night in Las Vegas, they were the best team in basketball. The aftermath continues to reverberate through the sport. Coaching clinics are already requesting film of this game. Analytics departments are studying how Indiana's defensive rotations neutralized Vegas's motion offense. Young players are watching Kelsey Mitchell highlights on repeat, trying to understand how she created space against elite defenders. This is bigger than one game or even one series. This is about the evolution of women's basketball. The skill level, athleticism, and basketball IQ on display last night would rival any professional league in the world. The fact that it happened on the biggest stage with the brightest lights and the most pressure makes it even more special. As we wait for Game 2, the questions keep mounting. Can Indiana do it again? Will Vegas's pride and championship DNA kick in? Is Caitlin Clark's injury more serious than the team is letting on? How will Becky Hammon adjust her game plan? Can Kelsey Mitchell possibly replicate her historic performance? The anticipation is killing everyone, and that's exactly what makes playoff basketball so special. One thing is certain, though. The Indiana Fever are no longer the cute underdog story. They're legitimate contenders who just put the entire WNBA on notice. And if Caitlin Clark returns healthy for the rest of this series, we might be witnessing the beginning of a dynasty nobody saw coming.